I have been living with type 1 diabetes for over 10 years now. Hello everyone, my name is Dia. So around the time of the week of my 8th birthday, actually, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. In fact, it was a DKA experience, which is diabetic ketoacidosis. Now, it was a very life-threatening situation. But prior to this, for a few months, I had lost over 10 kgs. Now, I used to be an extremely slim child around the age of 5 to 6, and then I gained quite a bit of weight, right? So around that time, I was chubby. You could consider me even obese. And then around a few months before my diagnosis with diabetes, I lost all the weight, all of the fat. I lost over 10 kgs. I was a super skinny kid, and the transformation was within a few months without any change in exercise or anything drastic like a diet change or anything like that. And also another symptom that I experienced a lot was that I was constantly thirsty. I just couldn't quench my thirst. I was forever wanting to grab water and also constant urination due to that. Now, prior to this, I had never actually used the school clinic. In fact, 7-year-old Dia didn't even know that there was a clinic in my school in Dubai. So my teacher at one point kind of realized that Dia is really sick, right? I looked pale and I looked like something was wrong with me. So she sent me to the school nurse, and I had really high fever at the time. So the nurse kind of called my mom and I went back home. And this scenario repeated over 3-4 times. I would constantly go to the nurse. She would either give me medicine or give me an ice pack. I would go back to class or go back home. Now, at one point, I just fell terribly sick. I was constantly sick throughout, and my parents thought that they had to feed me more. So my dad would feed me a lot of honey cake because he was like, my child is losing so much weight. Maybe she's not eating properly, and that's why she's getting malnutritioned, or she's, getting sick all the time, which was the total opposite of what actually needed to be done. But anyway, so yeah, at one point, after my dad left Dubai, 1 week after that, I felt so sick that my mom, my sister, and I actually made our way to this clinic near my house. Now, it wasn't a complete hospital, it was a clinic. And over there, they did my blood test. And my blood sugar level was 352 or around that. And instantly the doctor told my mom that your daughter has type 1 diabetes and go to the hospital immediately. So then we went to Rashid Hospital, where we discovered that they don't actually admit children, they only admit adults. So then my mom had to drive to Latifa Hospital, which by the time we reached Latifa Hospital, I had basically fainted. And I just have this little flashback of my mom carrying me in her arms like a proper movie scene and running to the hospital to get me on a wheelchair. So yeah, I had a proper ICU entrance into the hospital. And that's where I was taught about type 1 diabetes, and my mom was taught about type 1 diabetes, and my sister. And I remember as a little child, so close to my birthday, spending all that time at the hospital, even in the ICU, where there were patients with severe conditions. There was one girl who was, I think, less than a year old, and she was fighting cancer. And that's when I realized that type 1 diabetes isn't all that bad. Oh, and the insulin. So I remember the nurse coming, right? And she had this like plastic fake stomach looking thing in her hand. And I'm so old of a diabetic that at that time we had pens, but we also had another type of insulin, which was like this needle and you have to inject it into your body. So she showed us both options, and obviously I picked the insulin pen because it's so much easier and it's way less painful, right? And I learned how to inject it myself. My mom and my sister learned how to inject it. And I also discovered what the average range of your sugar levels should be. So for an average person, it should be around 100. And mine, even at the hospital, was very high. There was this one time I remember the nurse came to me and she came to my mom and she was like, her blood sugar level is 438. She cannot be sitting like this. She needs to walk around the hospital. She needs to put insulin. She needs to actively take steps to prevent this. And thankfully I did. Don't get me wrong, I still had terrible HbA1cs, which are your 3-month diabetes reports after being diagnosed. I still had to face issues like weaker eyesight or getting abscess or, getting warts in my feet. Day 1, we're already injured, or even getting hospitalized at the hospital due to high blood sugar levels, or facing hypoglycemia, which is low sugars at night. I did go through that, and so does every other diabetic. But over the years, I'm blessed to say that yes, I have learned how to maintain my blood sugar levels, and a very important part of that was a healthy diet and constant working out and exercise. So right after I got type 1 diabetes, my mom actually put me into karate classes, which I excelled at. And over the years, after 8 or 9 years of practicing karate, I actually became a black belt. And I attended various competitions for it, won so many medals, even at national level. And I'm very blessed to say that even though type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease and it does have a few setbacks, if you take good care of it, you can actually be healthier than an average person. And it's not at all like you're completely disabled and you can't move, or you're prevented from doing your favorite sport, or you're prevented from going to a party. Of course, you need to take your precautions. You need to constantly monitor your blood sugar levels. You need to eat and carb count and put the right dosage of insulin, which is a lot of work, and constant monitoring is required. But it does not mean in any shape or form that you cannot live your life to the fullest. So for all type 1 diabetic parents who might be scared, or for all parents whose child might have type 1 diabetes, don't worry. They have a great, bright future ahead. The thing you need to focus on, though, is eating in proportion, getting the right dosage of insulin, and educating and making sure the child is aware, living a healthy lifestyle. And that's about it. Nothing to worry about. And in the comments, let me know if you are a type 1 diabetic, or you know a relative or a friend who is a type 1 diabetic. And I'm curious to know all the experiences you've had, or even your diabetes diagnosis story, because the more we share, it's gonna be better for the new ones, and it'll be a way to make someone feel comfortable. And that's the main point. I want you all to know that having diabetes can be your strength. A type 1 diabetic is equally capable than anyone else. From people like Nick Jonas to literally myself. They're all type 1 diabetics. And we still strive in our day-to-day life, and so can you. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.